Hello and welcome to the new series of Drishti IAS. My name is Pooja Dwivedi. Today we are going to talk about power play in the Indian Ocean by China. China has stepped up its ante in the Indian Ocean. That is causing concern not only for USA but also for India, more so for India. What is the situation? Why we are discussing this today? We will talk about all that. First of all, let us look at the different topics that we are going to discuss step by step. It is going to be an extremely comprehensive segment. It is straddled with data. I'm not talking about numbers. I'm talking about data with respect to why Indian Ocean is so significant for China. What steps has China taken to show its aggressiveness in the Indian Ocean, and what has India done? Also, we will talk about the current scenario in the Indian Ocean. Who are the major power players? Everything is very important. Do see it very carefully. Let's move ahead and talk about the main topics that we are going to discuss. Let us see this news piece. This is from the Hindu. China's move in the Indian Ocean. Here we are talking about this particular China's move in the light of China-Indian Ocean Regional Forum, where India was not present. The traditional, you can say, partner of other littoral states in the Indian Ocean, India was not present. But there were claims by certain countries that Australia and Maldives have, partnered with China through this forum. We will talk about that as well. Why is China doing all this? Let us see that. Moving ahead, first of all, let us talk about this particular China-India Ocean Regional Forum. Now, China-Indian Ocean Regional Forum, this is basically trying to develop an agency which is very innocent, that we are here to give you aid. And it is headed by the former Vice Foreign Minister Liu Zhahui. Now, through this forum, China has proposed to establish a marine disaster prevention and mitigation cooperation mechanism. Now, climate change, under the garb of climate change, China is trying to maintain its continuous presence in the Indian Ocean by saying that we will strengthen your policy. We will also deepen development cooperation. We will increase your resilience to shocks and disasters. So this is what China is saying. And what it wants to do, of course it wants its own benefit, but it wants to enhance relevant countries' capacity to obtain economic benefits through exploitation of marine resources such as fisheries, renewable energy, wind energy, tourism, as well as shipping in a sustainable way. This is what China wants to do. Now, the current meeting which was held under this forum, the theme was shared development, theory and practice from the perspective of blue economy. Just imagine a country like China, who does not acknowledge the claims of different other countries in the East and South China Sea, wants to have it all, is saying that we will develop by shared perspective. How can it be? So it is a forum of 19 countries. 19 countries are there, and our dear neighbor, Pakistan is of course going to be there, and brothers. Myanmar is there, Sri Lanka is there, apart from Indonesia, Bangladesh, Maldives, Nepal, Afghanistan is also there, because it's a literal state, a literal country of Indian Ocean. Iran, Oman, South Africa, Kenya, Mozambique, Tanzania, Seychelles, Madagascar, Mauritius, Djibouti, and as well as Australia. These all countries are there. Although, after a period of time, Australia and Maldives said that we did not join the conversation in our official capacity. It was virtual in nature. But even though it was virtual in nature, they said that we are not here in official capacity. We just wanted to look what China is doing. So these two countries refuted the claims. Now, where does India stand in all this scenario? See, Chinese surveillance vessel. If you remember, we have covered that in one of our series. Chinese surveillance vessel Yuan-15 earlier this year entered Sri Lanka's port, saying that we are going to see what kind of climate and weather phenomenon is occurring in the Indian Ocean. That was a surveillance vessel. Of course, they are not going to say that we are going to, be a surveillance, we are going to park surveillance vessel in India's neighborhood, and we will collect intelligence, and then of course it will give us an upper hand in any case we get into a fight with India. That time, and still LAC is a contended region. So India, first of all, is a major country in the Indian Ocean region, and it was invited to this forum according to China. And they are saying that when next time we are going to meet, we want India's presence. But India is not, that's not going to happen. See, China's recent moves in the region is very wary, and India looks at it very suspiciously. Now, again, this is just few days back news. I mean, again, it has entered into Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka's port, or near the Indian Ocean region, if not Sri Lanka's port. So, Yuan Wang 5 is a surveillance vessel. How can you expect that a country, a democratic country such as India, is going to be a part of this regional forum when you are, spying on it? When India already has Indian Ocean Rim Association, India is already a part of this, which is a group of literal countries of the Indian Ocean. Why do we need another forum? Of course, you want to lead this agency for your own benefit. Indian Ocean Rim Association was formed in the year 1997. It is a regional forum to expand understanding and mutually beneficial cooperation through consensus-based, democratic in nature. Evolutionary, that means although it might have certain issues at the beginning, it can also expand. And non-intrusive approach. We are not going to, get into your state of affairs. It's like that, non-intrusive approach. It has 23 members and 10 dialogue partners are also there. 23 members, if we talk about them, then you see Australia, Bangladesh, Comoros, France, India, Indonesia, Iran, Kenya, Madagascar, Malaysia, Maldives, Mauritius, Mozambique, Oman, Seychelles, Singapore, Somalia, South Africa, Sri Lanka, Tanzania, Thailand, UAE and Yemen, all are part of it. And also it has 10 dialogue partners such as Japan, Russia, UK, US, even China is a part of it. When we already have a forum, why have a duplicity? Then Secretariat of IORA, we can say it is in Mauritius. Remember this? This could be a prelims question. Now let's talk about the importance of the Indian Ocean. See, importance of any region mainly is from the perspective of two reasons. First, it's economic. Second, it's geostrategic. Indian Ocean is a region which holds both. So see, if we talk about the Indian Ocean region, there are many countries which are in its literal states. Literal means sharing the borders. We have Australia of course, then we have Southeast Asia, alright, this part. Then we have South Asia. After that, we have Southern and Eastern Africa, okay, Horn of Africa, and even the Middle East. So many things, so many countries are present in this region. Now here, if we are going to talk about the littoral states, Somalia, Kenya, Tanzania, Mozambique, Swaziland, Lesotho, South Africa, Madagascar, plus Egypt, Sudan, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Djibouti. So many from African continent is present here. Apart from that, Middle East we have Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Yemen, Oman, Iran. From South Asia we have Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Myanmar. From Southeast Asia, Myanmar, Thailand, Malaysia, Brunei, Indonesia, and many other regions as well. Indonesia, of course. So remember that when there is a lot of interest of so many countries, then of course this region becomes very important. And cultural, social, political, economic diversity of this region has created a lot of competition, because if we are culturally diverse, there is many sorts of market that we can exploit. China wants to do that only. And most of all, these countries, specifically if we talk about the African countries and also Asian countries, they are not in a very good economic place. So China wants to exploit that. Here we have the biggest market, all the countries in totality. More than 1/3 of world's population lives here. More than half of the global seaborne trade is done here. Almost 70% goes through countries external to the region, goes to countries which are external to the region. It's also rich in natural resources, specifically oil, and ample marine resources such as natural gas, reserves, minerals, and abundance of fishes present. So you see that this particular region is so important for the entire world in terms of culture, economic capacity, geostrategic point of view, that we cannot ignore the fact that China wants to exploit it all. And also one thing that we have to talk about over here, that choke points are one of the military assets that China wants to exploit. What are choke points? We will talk about that. See, the core of the entire issue is actually the choke points. Whoever will be able to sustain a military presence, that means through its navy, at these choke points will be the king of this region. And these are also known as, choke points are also known as sea lines of communication protection and SLOC, interdiction in naval forms, in naval terms. Let us talk about these choke points. Choke points, as you can see from here only, the most important one is the Strait of Malacca. This is the choke point that China wants to conserve. So it wants to maintain a presence in Indian Ocean region because of this. Second choke point is Bab el Mandeb. Third is Strait of Hormuz. Also Mozambique Channel is very important in the Indian Ocean region. For the world, we can see Suez Canal is also huge choke point, huge as in very important choke point. Bass Strait, Torres Strait, Makassar Strait, here also Sunda Strait is a choke point, and Lombok Strait. So if it is asked in your prelims examination, the location of these choke points, remember them. Okay. Now here, first of all, the important choke points in Indian Ocean region are Strait of Malacca, Strait of Hormuz, Bab el Mandeb, and Mozambique Channel. Malacca Strait lies between Malaysia, Singapore, and Indonesia. Okay, Indonesian island of Sumatra. So here, from here, 80% of Chinese trade happens. And Hu Jintao in the year 2003 termed this choke point the most important one, and a term was related to the Malacca, Strait of Malacca, that was the Malacca dilemma, that China should ensure continuous presence over here so that this choke point can never be, can never get blocked in case of any rivalry occurs with any country that China can get into. So first that, and this choke point connects Southeast Asia and the Western Pacific to the Indian Ocean. Alright, so this is Western Pacific, Southeast Asia, it is connected to the Indian Ocean through Strait of Malacca only. Alright, then comes the second one, that is Strait of Hormuz. Strait of Hormuz is the only sea passage which connects the Persian Gulf to the wider Indian Ocean. So this is Persian Gulf and this is the wider Indian Ocean, Arabian Sea, which is a part of the Indian Ocean. This is the only sea passage. Second one is that as well. Here comes next, Bab el Mandeb. Here, China has military presence since 2017. Its first foreign military base. So, Bab el Mandeb has been secured and it is connecting. It is of course lying near the region Eritrea, Djibouti, Ethiopia, and of course specifically to the Horn of Africa. And you see Red Sea is connected to the Gulf of Aden and then hence the Indian Ocean through this choke point only. And then Mozambique Channel is also one of the main choke points because from here only the trade can happen through Cape of Good Hope to the Middle East. So if somebody has to trade from here, they have to pass through Mozambique Channel, otherwise they can go from here, which is much longer and economically not viable. So these are the many choke points. I hope you understood the concept of choke points. Then another one is, of course, you can see that this region, these choke points are very important from the perspective of oil transport as well. Oil, the entire thing on which the current economy is based upon. So you see through Strait of Hormuz, 17 million barrels of oil are transported from Strait of Malacca, 15.2 million, and Bab el Mandeb, 3.8 million. Now moving ahead, let's talk about the current state of power. See, there are many state players that are having interest in the Indian Ocean. Let's talk about United States. United States has a military base in Diego Garcia. This is a part of the Chagos archipelago. Although this region is disputed by Mauritius. Now here India is already a part of US, it's an ally of US, but India throws its political support behind Mauritius under, of course, the decolonization policy. So because of that, there is a clash. And of course, right now, larger countries' bilateral dynamics with the littoral and island states of the region are creating these implications. US is already embroiled with the Pacific. It wants to secure Pacific region, Afghanistan, and Afghanistan is already done away with. But now Russia and of course Ukraine thing has come up, war has come up. Apart from that, Taiwan and China has come up. So US is already embroiled here. So now what is happening? France and India are taking over the region through Reunion Island. Reunion Island is over here. Through Reunion Island, which is to the east of Madagascar, France is maintaining its presence, all right, in the Indian Ocean. So China, India, Japan and United States plus NATO allies are already running anti-piracy operations near Somalia, that is the Horn of Africa. In 2020, Russia has announced the establishment of a new naval base in Sudan, which will create an access to the Indian Ocean for it for the next 25 years. So you see that there are many players. So China has stepped up its interest in the Indian Ocean region for that very purpose only. It is already a major trading partner for many of the countries in this region. Plus, China's foreign minister during the visit to Sri Lanka said that we are going to open a forum and Sri Lanka is going to play a big part in it. Now, China is establishing a more frequent military presence in the water of the IOR. I have told you why and how. Beijing's first ever overseas military facility is in Djibouti. Near, of course, where did I tell you? It is near Bab el Mandeb, right? Here in Djibouti. Moving ahead, now let's talk about the other important points over here. Now see that in order to be present not only in Indian Ocean but also to the very west, China has invested in so many ports. In Indian Ocean, we have Colombo Terminal, Hambantota Port, Tera Port in Bangladesh, we have Chittagong Port in Bangladesh, 𝐃𝐫𝐢𝐬𝐡𝐭𝐢 Port in Myanmar, Malacca Port over here, Darwin Port in Australia. These are the Chinese port investment. In, again, Indian Ocean, Khalifa Port, then Gwadar Port, Karachi as well, Dora Leh multipurpose port in Israel. So there are so many ports that China has maintained in the Indian Ocean region. And by doing all this, it wants to maintain its presence in the entire region. Moving ahead now, let's talk about what are China's, manifestation of its ambitions, you can say. Chinese military ships, tracking vessels and submarines are always present nowadays. PLA Navy is saying that we are going to have a long-term plan to deploy 6 aircraft carriers, which is of course a manifestation of its ambitions, of which 2 of them will be based in the Indian Ocean region. So that's not a good news. Now, why the entire world right now is not happy with this, specifically USA and India? First of all, China has a debt trap policy or a debt diplomacy. What happens when we can take the example of Sri Lanka and Pakistan. Under its Belt and Road project, it is saying that we are going to invest in your infrastructure. Please take loans from us. And it's a very, feasible loan system, but it's not feasible. First of all, the transparency is not there. It is very opaque in nature. High interest loans are being given. Apart from that, what is happening? Whenever for an asset creation, if you are giving the loan, what is happening? The revenue or debt servicing is not being happened. If I am developing a port, supposedly, by investing 100 rupees, suppose, but the return is, and the interest on 100 rupees is just 50 or is just like 80 rupees. But still, from the perspective of the loan, interest is a lot and the port is not giving me any suitable amount of revenue that I can pay the interest. Now, what will happen? Now, China will come into the picture and say this asset or this port was developed by me and you are not able to give me back my interest or the principal amount. Now, I will take over this port. So, this is debt diplomacy, which China is doing, and that is creating havoc for smaller countries. Since 2008, China has regularly deployed a contingent of naval warship in the Gulf of Aden. It established, this we have already covered. It is also attempting to challenge India's traditional presence in the region. India is a traditional ally of all the littoral countries of the Indian Ocean. Alright, and through this string of pearls theory, China is doing what? It is establishing ports in these regions so that it can encircle India. And India will be in a very bad position if it does not hit back. So, in 2021, China opened its first transport link to the Indian Ocean by China-Myanmar New Passage, and it is a sea road rail link. This comes from Chengdu. It gives a direct access to China through these all things to the Bay of Bengal and hence the Indian Ocean. China is actively engaging with Africa through Forum on China-Africa Cooperation. It is also promoting its role in the infrastructural and societal development of the Horn of Africa region. Apart from that, it is giving COVID vaccines which are unable to work in its own country. So, China is also starting to give fund to Africa. It is exploiting the economic vulnerabilities of Africa as well. India is responding. Now, India is responding through IORA and Indian Ocean Naval Symposium under the vision of security and growth for all in the region. This is actually democratic in nature. We do not want to invade into any other space. We do not want to give you loans at exorbitant interest. We just want, India just wants what? Growth for all, so that each and every country can take the benefit of their economies. Coalition for Disaster Resilience Infrastructure was launched at the UN in September 2019, and more countries should join it. If the question is that what? We want to mitigate the disaster. Information Fusion Center at Gurugram is assisting the member countries of IORA, Indian Ocean region, not IORA, with real-time crisis information. Apart from that, for Pacific, we also have IPEF, which we have covered, Quad, the coalition of Japan, India, USA, and Australia, and also Build Back Better World, which wants to build back a better world after COVID by assisting the developed and developing areas of Indian Ocean region plus other areas as well. So when everything is present, why create another forum? You are trying to develop a blog for yourself. Now let's move ahead and talk about the question. With reference to Indian Ocean Rim Association for Regional Cooperation, consider the following statements. It was established very recently in response to incidents of piracy and accidents of oil spills. It is an alliance meant for maritime security only. We have to select the correct answer. Okay, just give me a moment. I will take the names of those who have answered my last question correctly. And many of you have done that. So let me just go through step by step. You can answer this question meanwhile, and I will take your names in the next segment. Praful has answered it correctly. Febi, Krishna, Tushita, Abhishek, Muskan, Anuj, Srinivas, Anu, Faizan, Bipin, Sagarika, Pallavi, Tushar, Venkat, Aditya Birla, and Mahendra. Also, UPSC Crack Motivation, Sonia, Puneet, Muskan, Rupal, Rahul, Koyal, Bhargavi, Rehan, Simran, and Unstoppable. You all have answered my question correctly. All the best for this question as well. And thank you so much for watching.